We're here at the Robert E. Peterson Gallery at the NRA National Firearms Museum here in Fairfax, Virginia, with Phil Schreier, Senior Curator of said museum. Phil, thanks for having us back here for more Curator's Corner. We're off the road. We were out west a little while with you. We're back here at headquarters at the National Firearms Museum. What do you got for us this week?
Well, John, I've got one of my all-time favorite pistols in the world. And I know we've talked about this gun when we were talking about Hollywood guns, because this is a Colt Walker revolver. One of the reasons why we're so excited about this gun is for the first time in quite a while, we have an actual original Colt Walker on display. One of our good friends, Bob Sadler of the American Society of Arms Collectors, has loaned us one of his prized pieces, an original Colt Walker, and we have that on exhibit here. We've had Walkers on display and loaned to us before, but this is pretty special to have a great gun like that on display again.
And now this is a firearm, Phil, that's got a great amount of cachet to it, between Hollywood and everything. But it's not just Hollywood. This gun, people talk about it, revere it, and love it so much for a reason. Tell us what is about this gun that makes it so special and made it so special back when it first came out.
4 letters, John. C-O-L-T. Colt. Everybody's heard that name. Everybody knows what a Colt is. Have you ever heard of Snyder and Glassick?
No.
How about Ace of Waters?
No.
You ever heard of an Ace of Waters pistol? How about a Collier? No. Those are all guys whose guns we don't remember today. Colt was one of those guys for a while. From 1836 to 1842, Samuel Colt patented and manufactured and produced his patented revolving handgun, the Patterson Revolver. But by 1842 or so, it just wasn't a commercial success. He was not able to sell any of them to the United States government, and if you don't have a U.S. government contract, you don't have anything.
Forget about it.
So he went out of business. He was bankrupt. He was trying in 1847 to sell the U.S. government an idea for mining, pre-mining a harbor, in case you had naval defenses and you wanted to set mines and buoys up in a harbor that were hidden. He had this little submarine battery deal that you could. He didn't sell it to the government, but other governments bought it. Now we pretty much think that's what blew up the Maine in 1898.
So that was his backup plan. If the gun thing didn't work, he had this going.
Yeah, he had the mine thing, and it worked evidently. But a Texas Ranger by the name of Samuel Hamilton Walker, who grew up right where the Capitol Beltway today intersects with Route 410 in Maryland, had gone to the Everglades to fight the Seminoles in the War of 1838. And while he was down there with his brother, he was exposed to the repeating firearms of Sam Colt, who had gone down there with carbines and Pattersons, and had let the guys use those in combat against the Seminoles. And he liked them. And when he went to Texas, him and Jack Coffey Hayes used Pattersons to hold off an overwhelming force of Comanche Indians, and made national headlines with this great standoff that they had. When the Mexican-American War broke out, they made Walker the head of a new branch of the Army called the U.S. Mounted Rifles. And they gave him blank checks. Said, outfit your guys with whatever you need to take the war to the Mexicans the way they're fighting us, guerrilla warfare. And so Walker wrote a letter to Colt saying, I want 1,000 revolvers from you, similar to your Patterson style that I used in the Everglades, except make this bigger. Beef it up. Instead of 36 caliber, make it 44. Instead of not having a trigger guard, it needs to have a solid trigger guard on it. I want a loading lever attached to the gun itself. And instead of a bead sight, I'd like a blade sight on the gun, and make it big enough that you can use it as a club if you need to. And all this is in Walker's original letters to Colt. And so Colt had no idea that Walker didn't know that he was bankrupt and out of business. Walker just sent his letter, and Colt was like, we got to do something. I got 1,000 guns. This is what I've been dreaming of. So he goes to Eli Whitney and he says, what can we do to make these guns fast for this guy? And Whitney and Colt, working on ideas that Blanchard and Simeon North and John Hall and these other guys had in the making of interchangeable parts, manufactured this gun this way. And so you have the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and you have the first of a series of unbroken contracts between Sam Colt and the U.S. military that remains to this day. So had there not been a Sam Walker in Texas, that letter to Colt for 1,000 of these guns would have never made Colt the name we know it today.
Wow, amazing. Wow, great story, great history, and a great farm. How can people see that here at the museum, Phil?
Well, people can see this here at the museum, and mind you, there were only 1,100 of these made. 1,000 for the military and 100 for the civilian service. And we have one of what is probably about 12% of the production that's actually still around in the world. They're still here somewhere. I said that Neil Armstrong didn't leave any of them on the moon, so they got to be here somewhere. But you can see this off the interstate, US 66 in Fairfax, Virginia. We're open 7 days a week from 9:30 to 5 o'clock. Admission is free, plenty of parking. If you want to visit us on the internet, that's 24/7.
Free parking there,
free
too.
Parking on the internet as well. We've got a great website, NRAmuseum.com, and you can see all of our YouTube videos, past Curator's Corners, such as this, and some of the best photography close up. You can zoom into, you can count the threads and the screws on some of these on our website. So just knock yourself out and visit us off the interstate or on the internet.
All right, Phil, thank you very much for another great installment of the Curator's Corner.
And thank you, John, for having us again.